Hello and welcome to your reading. Hopefully you may find messages within this reading to be of service for you in wanting to book this type of reading with me. Please know that if you have any inquiries or questions in regards to this reading, to use the email in the description box below to reach out. This is a shadow dance reading, in that this is a timeless sneak peek into finding whether or not you can utilize again something of this, whatever this reading has to offer. Shadow is a concept that confuses a lot of people. It confused me in my journey of knowing how I feel in coming across my own ascension processes. So you're not expected to understand what shadow is, but in the contrast of utilizing light to explain things, light casts a shadow. And shadow has a realm of being conscious as well. It has a matter in it that wants to deliver understanding. And that understanding is wanting to get closer to the light within that darkness, to understand why the darkness is around that light, why that light has that shadow. So the shadow dance is really kind of a reading to trigger all and as many as possible concepts, whether it be one or two or more than, of what your shadows may be. So that way, when it comes to glowing or glorifying that glow that is supposed to come and be of you, then it doesn't swallow you up and you don't forget your shadow side that comes knocking at the consciousness, because the subconscious just will not let it go. So I hope that these messages resonate. Please understand that it may trigger you. I don't understand how much it will, besides reading it and feeling the energy at the best of my abilities for this general reading. Feminine and masculine energy are non-gender specific, so you can be female and or male-bodied and resonate with feminine and masculine energy that comes up in a reading. Please understand that this is a timeless reading, so whenever you happen to be on this scheduled reading trajectory of listening, you may find that these messages may resonate in past, present, or also future timelines. Please remember that you are not limited to not only the time or the amount of cards that come up in this reading for the point of possibly purchasing this reading for yourself. It really depends on the guidance of seventh of which I am to kind of get the best for you in the time of need, is the best way I can describe that. All right. Shadow dance. Shadow dance. Three of Wands. The Strength card. The Knight of Wands. The Eight of Wands. Someone is failing to use their intuition to understand the viciousness behind their emotions or why they feel so much. The inability to recognize that to show up and say what it is that you want to deliver, and saying is one thing, delivering is another. Your shadow is being lost and wanting to take something from someone. Wanting to take maybe that of which is not yours, and to understand how to get over that feeling of not taking away from something because it's just not yours for you to take it, as in stealing. Some of your shadows are dancing in not being able to separate yourselves from family because you're still thinking that family is before anything. Some of you are indoctrinated in that belief because you believe that the indoctrination of the culture, of ideation of religion, is ushering you the importance of family first. But learning it that way, you've indoctrinated and prioritized religion first and family second. So you can definitely let go of the responsibility of family anyway because you don't really believe it. Some of you just don't want to show up in the responsibilities of everyday life. You don't see and believe in the indoctrination of school, of work, of 9 to 5, of having friends, of having the so-called normal things in life, like a white picket fence, a Labrador, and a boy and a girl, or typical, if you're in the United States, manifest destiny story, right? The typical American dream. Some of you have the American dream and don't even know how to maneuver life now moving forward because you're like, I have everything, now what do I do? It's because your shadows have been ignored, and the things that you say you need to ignore in order to make the best type of imagery for what life should be about. Knowing that every single time you dived into the risk of diving into that imagination, you knew you were leaving behind an essence about yourself that keeps coming back and forth, coming back into your life of awareness, but you're too adept in trying to burn it away. And by trying to burn it away, you're trying to burn your own existence. And by burning your own existence, you're making your shadows burn faster and burning brighter because you're ignoring the very makeup of that which it is yours. That which is yours. Page of Swords. Knowing that the ability lies to have spoken your word, and knowing that you're there to show up to speak your word, doesn't make you show up as someone who has the word. If that makes sense. All right, some of you are like, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, just because you're showing up as you know you're talking about doesn't mean that what you're talking about is coming off with so much security that the delivery of whoever is listening out to whatever it is that you have to say feels your security. Because the Strength card is saying you're lacking security of something. You need to build security in one form or another. So it's making the Page of Swords look a little bit fragile, more so than it wants to be. Yes, I was just saying, some of you have been so triggered by me saying stealing. So we have the Knight of Cups energy followed by the Devil energy here. So the Knight of Cups is saying that, ultimately with the stealing part, you don't want someone to steal your heart, steal your emotions and betray you. So that's why you're so good at trying to make everything around that cup. Ignore everything of how deep that cup is actually. For someone to be like, is this cup capable of filling a lot of things or not a lot of things? It's like kind of knowing that, I don't know if it's still true or not, but like the Starbucks shit that like the venti is the same as a small, it's just the illusion of the cup shape, right? So it's kind of like you're embellishing everything around the Knight of the Cups cup here. and making sure that it's so fucking beautiful because you just want to gallop in the existence of life and show up in the glory of the light. And then the fucking devil comes in and says, yeah, are you? Are you gonna pay attention to how deep this cup is of yours before you are so curious to embellish everything around you and diminish the fact of how deep or how shallow your cup either needs to be or is, in order for you to have an emotional sense of a connection with the individuals that you may not have a connection with at this time, to feel the void of the security that I'm sensing the shadow is trying to make you feel. The shadow is making you feel a void. The shadow is making you needing to fill that void with something because it's screaming at you, I need to be filled with something and you need to fill me now. So it's running into addictions, it's running into... Ooh, loud, right? One moment. Ooh, that was so loud for a second, right? But coming in like the devil energy, that loudness, right? And shaking up shit. And that's when the shadow dance is really the loudest, when we either feel pain, feel anxiety, feel a panic attack, heart palpitations, heart chest pain, eating too much, not eating enough, fasting too much, not fasting at all, doing all these things that perpetuate one extreme to the other and not having a sense of control in either perspective of where the energy wants to pull you, is exactly what the shadow does. Five of Swords. I can't stand the Seven of Swords, so thank God it's not here. Five of Swords energy. Five of Swords energy. So taking the time to understand that, damn, you know, all this energy required of knowing what it means to show up for something can come and challenge you. All right, challenge you in ways that it's going to force you to show up in a certain situation and maybe delivering the message as a bad person, and then saying ultimately, hey, don't shoot the messenger, right? And it's like, I'm just here to experience the experience and trying to make sense of the things that it is that are trying to make sense within me, and bringing it out to the equation of wherever it is I'm trying to socialize, whether it's work, family, social beings, social gatherings, wherever it means to show up somewhere, right? And that showing up is kind of where you're learning that where you show up and who you are when you go to sleep. Two different paradigms of identification of consciousness, all right? The one is the devil, and the other one is like the devil's angel saying, hey, are you this type of person because you acted this way, or are you not this type of person acting this way? And that's how the shadow comes in and dances as shadows and says, hey, I'm the result of, I don't know, can you even see the shadow on the wall? Kind of, right? So you can like see this shadow dancing, and seeing the shadow dancing is like, oh, I can... Does the shadow have consciousness of its own? Is it truly just a reflection of my hand on this wall here, if you can see it, right? And like being able to understand, like, oh, I'm a puppeteer master and I can do all the shadow dances and all that stuff. Who am I? Am I the shadow? Is the shadow me? Although it's separate from me, is an ongoing question. Oh, well then I guess I can then ignore my shadows, because if the shadow is just a reflection of this tangible thing, then we're going to accept the moon always just showing its one side and never giving us the other side, because, well, fuck it, it's never showing us the other side. And that is not the universal laws of justice. Universal laws of justice is going to force you to accept the shadow in full entirety by trying to find the other side of the moon. Like the Pink Floyd song, Dark Side of the Moon. Damn. Catching these flying cards is like ninja work. I have two of wands here. Two of wands is saying, you know,
I'm learning here how to have my intuition on in deck here, on deck, in hands, and control something. All right, the universe is working double time with you at this time to make sure that you understand what the universe is wanting you to understand about the word shadow. All right, and to be able to dance with it, knowing what it is to have an intuition. If you don't know what it means to have a decision of intuition, know that your decisions are going to bring you closer into knowing that those are choices at the end of the day, and those choices hold responsibility and consequences to them. And knowing those in the trajectory of either foresight or hindsight is where we are in the gray matter of accepting that light contrasts itself and having shadows to it, and those shadows have characteristics of involvement to our lives, and they will pick at you. And some of you are like, how can it be that the shadow dance reading has the devil himself show up? And well, hey, that's exactly the devil's work here. The devil works in the glorious ways of taking the light of the devil, energy of love, and saying, hey, you all say you operate out of love here, but is the intuition in check? Because last I heard, you're listening out to this reading and you're admitting that it's not in check. So are you going to reach out to heal and answer to the devil's calling, that he is the messenger of the light and thus not the messenger to be killed? I hope that makes sense. All right, I hope that was enough detail to kind of get an understanding what the shadow dance reading can offer you, should you be inquisitive to take this Ganter and want to book with me. Feel free to reach out and we'll take it from there. And please do know that payment may need to be processed first before we execute any kind of healing processes. All right, so I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, or wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. Take care.